time for Voice of Indie. Your hosts today are Beem Weeks, author, producer, and marketing monster for independent multimedia publisher Fresh Ink Group, and Stephen Gies, author, producer, composer, and publisher for Fresh Ink Group.
Hey, and happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Voice of Indie podcast, episode number 75. I am your host tonight, Beem Weeks, and with me, as usual, is Mr. Stephen Gies down there in Alabama. How are you doing tonight, Stephen?
I'm doing pretty well. I spent the day in Birmingham dealing with my surgeon and having my hands looked at and, things twisted, pulled, stomped on, thrown against the wall, that kind of stuff. So I'm hurting a little bit, but, kind of making a little bit of progress, slowly but surely. It's been kind of weird down here in Alabama. Like Saturday, we had 79 degrees, and then Saturday night I went out and was taking pictures of frogs on the deck eating slugs because the slugs came up for some reason out from underneath the deck, and the frogs came up and decided to eat them. And then, 24 hours later, we had snow on the same deck.
Wow.
Snow. And I mean, and the snow sat there for about a day or two, which is also unusual because it might snow once or twice a year down here in Alabama, but it's always gone after a few hours. So seeing it stick around was cool because all up in the hills and the mountains around here, it was white, and I never see it looking like that. So that was pretty cool. But when you got cold weather like that, it's a good day, especially when your hands aren't working real well and you can't get a lot of work done. It's a good day to sit and watch movies. And between HBO and Showtime, they showed 5 of the movies that was on my list from last week's show, and a couple that was on Beam's list, like Pulp Fiction. So I sat and watched movies all day, and that was pretty cool. And cool. Including one of my all-time favorite science fiction movies. I don't know if I got that far on the list or not, but Oblivion, which most people have never heard of, even though it stars Tom Cruise and Morgan Freeman. Man, I love that movie, and I wound up watching about 2/3 of that when I saw that it was on, and thought, what the heck, stuck around and watched the entire movie from start to finish yet again, even though I pretty much know it by heart. But as I remarked to Beam, any science fiction movie that uses Led Zeppelin's Ramble On not once but twice, got to be a good movie.
Zeppelin! Yeah.
Ramble On!
Speaking of snow, we've got quite a bit. I mean, not a ton of snow. It doesn't seem to snow that much, the way it once might have when I was a kid. When I was a kid, it just seemed like there was a lot more snow because you're short and whatnot. But we got snow. We've got the cold, bitter temperatures. I think the other day it was like we didn't even get to double digits, in the afternoon, even though the sun was shining. But, hey, that's part of winter in Michigan. But I want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. And let's hope that 2022 is a lot better than 2021. Now, if you want to partake in tonight's episode, and we want you to partake in tonight's episode, here are a couple of ways you can do that.
Call 516-453-9902 right now and join us on air, or tweet us with the hashtag Fresh Ink Group in the body, and we'll read your comment or question live. That's 516-453-9902 or hashtag Fresh Ink Group.
Participation is strongly encouraged, so if you have a question or a comment for tonight's guest, hit us up on either Twitter, hashtag Fresh Ink Group, or give us that call. 516-453-9902.
Yeah, another thing that is strongly encouraged is writing reviews, leaving reviews. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, go over on Goodreads, on your blog, on your website, any place that's willing to let you put a review. We appreciate that. Independent authors live and die by the strength of their reviews and their ratings, and it really means a lot to them. Not to mention that, sometimes authors will toil for years in obscurity working on a project, and just hearing from people that they got it, they understood it, they saw what was happening and appreciated it, that can really mean a lot to an indie author. So get out there and post those reviews. Now, one thing about these reviews is when we publish books here at Fresh Ink Group, I always order a couple of copies and put them on the shelf here so I have some to send out for review purposes or to media or other kinds of publicity. And I'm sitting here looking at just all of these books thinking, there's got to be some people out there that would write a review for, like a free book or something like that. So if you got some ideas for what we can do to kind of goose this review process and get some of these books out there in the hands of people, maybe even for free, let us know. Reviews.
Yeah, well, reviews, like Stephen just said, reviews are important to the authors, and it helps the author get some feedback on what readers found out about the story. Like Stephen said, hey, I got it, or whatever. But it also lets other people who might be interested in reading your work check it out, get your point of view on it, your opinions on it, and hey, all right, this sounds like something I might want to read. And so it helps authors sell a few copies as well. So remember that.
They don't have to be hard to write either. Just if someone asked you, hey, would I like that book? What would I like about it? That's all you got to say. Just a couple of sentences and what it is that you liked, and make sure you give it that high star rating too, 4 or 5 stars, because we really don't want to trash people out there. If you find a book that you just hate, you don't have to review that one. Look for the good books that you want to support.
Yes, indeed. Now, we are trying to build our YouTube channel, so why don't you go over to YouTube, Fresh Ink Group, and subscribe and check out we've got all kinds of cool stuff over there, book trailers and interviews. This show is archived over there too, but you can find out like this.
Check out the Fresh Ink Group channel on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and like.
Be sure to subscribe and like. So get over there and do that.
I looked yesterday and saw that we had 8 new subscribers to the YouTube channel, and I got up and danced a jig. I'd have probably, done, the Macarena if my hands hadn't been broken. But, we do get downright giddy when we see we have new subscribers. It means a lot to us, and it shows YouTube that we're bringing some traffic their way too. And we know YouTube is hurting for traffic. So,
yeah.
Okay,
all right.
So we got some books coming out pretty soon.
We do.
We've got Robert G. Willis Cross' second book in his Ort Chronicles series called Federation to the Stars. And it's looking like probably about this time next week is when it should be on sale. We've already started working on the video. The audio book is in production, and all of the print editions, hardcover, softcover, and, of course, the ebook editions, you should be able to order by this time next week. So we want to push that. We got Carlisle Tom's The Calling Dream is almost ready to go, and we're working on his next one, The Gulls Must Be Laughing. We've also got Patricia A. Guthrie's short story collection called Eerie Charms is now in production, and that's what we've been kind of waiting for her to move, and she was dealing with the death of her best friend and whatnot. So she's kind of getting back up to speed now and is got all of her pictures and stuff together. So we're hoping to get that thing out in the next couple of weeks as well. We've also got a couple of new clients that have brought us projects in the past week that are quite interesting. One is an author in Florida. Her name is Andrea Wingler, and she's got a business partner working on this with her, and we're putting out a book that's how to start a food truck business. And there's going to be a lot of demand for that. Now, when they wrote this book, it was how to start a food truck business in Florida. So, my reaction was, why are we going to try to sell a book to one state when we could try to sell it to 50? So they're beefing it up now with the latest regulations, info, and where to go and stuff like that for all 50 states. And the other one that we're excited about is Red Mountain Driving Academy, which is near Birmingham, Alabama. Kenneth Lindquist, who operates that, has written a book on how to train driver's ed instructors so that they can get certified in their various states and be legitimate, because most states have some very high standards if you want to be an instructor. In Alabama, you just have to, have a car. But otherwise, most of these states, you got to pass some tests and show that you've taken classes and done some things like that. So we're going to put out 2 versions of that, one for training instructors, and then the other one will be for parents of teenagers who are learning to drive. And I'll bet you there's at least a couple of hundred of those people out there as well. So we got 14 other books besides those in the pipeline as well. We're getting excited, gearing back up, launching this new year with a whole bunch of stuff coming out, and looking for Fresh Ink Group to have its best year ever.
And there must be something in the water. This book is about people living in Green Pond, South Carolina. These are success stories of a small African-American community that produced some amazing success stories.
Remarkable, yeah.
Yeah. Now, is this out now, Stephen, or is this?
Out now.
Out now, okay. And also from Chaos with Love is out. This is 220 poems of life and love, and this is available as well. I see we have some comments over on Twitter as well.
Now both of those books Beem just mentioned, there are videos for those on our YouTube channel as well, so check them out. There must be something in the water, and From Chaos with Love.
Yeah, I'm thinking we can hit these comments since they're kind of timely. So
go ahead.
Okay. Well, Helen, she's introducing our guest. Basically, the Drowned Kingdom saga arose from the depths of all readers for all readers to enjoy. And here comes PL's next novel, The Last of the Atlanteans. Book 2 in the Drowned Kingdom saga will surface in spring of 2022. And Robert Willis-Croft is saying 19 degrees with snow today here in Denver.
Now, before you get to that next one, you back up some. Verwayne's Greenhose first comment was, and we're back. Just like fleas on your dogs, the wife and I are back. Hold your applause, please. Laugh out loud. Hello, everyone. Yeah, we missed you the last few weeks, Verwayne. Well, of course, last 2 weeks ago, we were was it last week that we reran David Carroll, or the week before?
Yeah, last week was the rerun, and 2 weeks ago was the last live show.
So we weren't live last week, but yeah, we've been rooting for you, you and your wife, Verwayne. It's glad to have you back. Now, he's got another one there, Beem?
Yeah, he's saying, amen, Stephen. It was 80 here one day. 80 here, can't lie. He's in Florida now. The thing about Verwayne, regular listeners, you know this. The thing about Verwayne and his wife, Lisa, they lived way up in the UP here in Michigan where it's bitter cold. I mean, even in the summertime it's cold. And now he's soaking up the sun and fun in Florida. So he says, amen, Stephen. It was 80 here one day, and we had a low of 31 the next day here in northern Florida. I wasn't exactly pleased. I traveled over 1,800 miles to get away from that stuff. Well, at least your 31 is a brief dip.
Yeah. Hey, Verwayne, no matter how cold it is in Florida, just go ahead and check that upper peninsula Michigan temperature anytime
That's all you got to do.
Feeling a little let down.
Now, listeners, we also want to encourage you to subscribe to our newsletter, and this is how you can do that. This newsletter it's a once weekly thing. We put a lot of really good stuff in there. There's new releases in there. There's upcoming episodes. There's every Wednesday, this episode that we do each Wednesday, the link will be in there as well. So check it out. Here's how you can subscribe to that.
Stay on top of these podcasts and all things Fresh Ink Group with our weekly digital newsletter. New releases, videos, stories, excerpts, interviews, and more. Sign up now on the homepage of freshinkgroup.com and be the one who knows what's what.
What?
What?
Right.
Yeah, speaking of that newsletter, our very young marketing guy, Samuel Wilson, is the one who's been putting that together each week. And when I went in and checked it last night, I noticed that we had a new subscriber, and it's today's guest. So thank you for subscribing, today's guest. And that guest is L Stewart. L Stewart was born in Toronto, Canada. He holds a university degree in English, specializing in medieval literature. L is an assistant editor with Before We Go blogging team, headed by the awesome Beth Tabler. L is an avid supporter of fellow creatives and proud member of the greater writing community, which includes readers, writers, bloggers, editors, literary agents, and more. L currently lives in Chatham, Ontario, Canada. L is married, and he and his lovely wife, Debbie, have 7 children and 1 precocious grandchild between them. When not writing or engaging in author-associated activities, L is a voracious reader and loves to read and review books. Ooh, we like that. Spends time with family, tries to get some exercise time, and watches Netflix. Welcome to the show, PL.
Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you, Fresh Ink. Thank you, Stephen and Beem. So happy and honored to be here. It's a privilege.
Cool.
So now let's kind of introduce our audience to you. How old are you?
I am 52 years old.
Okay.
A youngster.
So you're a
thanks,
So you're from Canada. Have you lived in Canada your entire life, or have you lived abroad at any point?
No, born and raised in Canada. However, my aspirations is to be a snowbird, and when I retire from my regular job, to spend half the year in Barbados, which is where my mother is from. So yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, good scuba diving down there.
That's a good plan to have.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's beautiful. Love Florida too, but no gators in Barbados.
Yeah, unfortunately, Florida is not such a good place for scuba diving these days because what reefs they have mostly been trashed. But got to go where you have to. So, what kind of kid were you, Mr. Stewart? Were you into reading and writing activities? Played sports? Robbed liquor stores? What kind of kid were you?
No robbing of liquor stores as much as I like my spirits. Actually, I'm about 2 fingers deep in some Mount Gay rum, one of the oldest rums in the world. Manufactured in Barbados in 1703. I got some of that going while I chat with you gentlemen. But
right.
I think I was somewhere between an athlete and a nerd. I don't know where that falls on the scale, but I really enjoyed football. Played football, especially most of my life. Did some other sports that really didn't have much talent in them, but football, was okay. But yeah, avid reader, really liked a lot of the classic stuff, and of course ended up going to university down the road for medieval literature, and that was my jam. So that was great childhood growing up. But yeah, I was always into the reading and writing from a young age.
So even back 6, 8, 10 years old, you were starting to really get into reading stories and things like that. Was it the classics when you were that young, or did you kind of start with more kidsy stuff and work toward classics when you got a bit older?
Well, kind of in between, because I grew up reading the C.S. Lewis stuff, The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lord of the Rings, the Lloyd Alexander, all of that stuff was very much part of my childhood, and as I matured, then you get into a bit more mature type fantasy and the stuff in R. Donaldson's, and then of course in university you read certain core books for university. It's mandatory. You don't have a choice. You're kind of stuck there. But some of it I enjoyed, and then you get into the Beowulfs and the Lamort D'Arthurs, and it really fascinating stuff that for some people that they want to poke their eyes out reading it, but someone like me it was quite enjoyable. So. And that inspired me back then to, I'm going to write something one day, like that. Didn't know when, but I didn't fool around with it since high school. But now in the second half of life, I've managed to do it. So.
Oh, that's cool. Well, when you say medieval literature, what pops into my head is like Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, or the Canterbury Tales by Chaucer, or the Iliad and the Odyssey. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about.
So even as a high schooler, you were into that kind of stuff?
Yeah, believe it or not, that was really my thing. And and I guess that's where when I think about where I am now in my writing journey and what I like to read and what I like to write, that's where the origins are. That's why I think I write in such a rather, I don't want to say archaic, but, I think an old style, the kind of fantasy you used to read, back in especially the 70s, 80s, and 90s, the Ursula Le Guin's, and even up to the George R. R. Martin stage. I think my writing sounds more like that than some of the more modern stuff.
I did a bachelor's degree in literature at the University of Michigan, and so of course I had to study all that kind of stuff. I was not that much interested in the medieval literature, but I found when you really like Jonathan Swift, for example, and not just Gulliver's Travels, but his Modest Proposal and some of those things. Mm-hmm. When you catch on to his writing style and get that cadence and start to understand, the references, the cultural references and the time references and stuff, marvelous writing, fantastic, wonderful writing, and like Voltaire, Voltaire's Candide, that kind of stuff. that's when I really started to get into, because to me the Iliad and the Odyssey was like, okay, this is interesting, but it stopped being interesting, maybe 30 hours ago or something. But some of that stuff like Candide, that kind of opened my eyes to the older literature, and I really started to get more into it. I can't say to this day that I'm big on it, because I'm more of a contemporary fiction kind of a person. What's happening out there now, but I can see that. What is it that really got to you? Is it the time and place? Was it the attitude? Was it the stories themselves? The writing?
I think it was a combination of the stories themselves and the writing, and I think I had this big love of mythology, right? And pick your mythology: African mythology, Greek mythology, British mythology, so Arthurian legend, and also there was very definitely a spiritual tie there. So for me, reading, Paradise Lost, the spirituality of it, that certainly wasn't lost on me, right? So I think, and a lot of those, especially Western, English literature has that element running through it. So, that was part of how my love for all that stuff grew, and it translated into later years and into my current writing.
No, cool. Yeah, you mentioned Dante, and Milton, for example. I always thought those were more accessible than like the Iliad and the Odyssey. And Chaucer was tough for me, because when you got two sentences on a page and the rest of the page is footnotes explaining what those two sentences really meant, that can really bog you down. But
I tried Chaucer. I tried Chaucer once, and I think I got 10 pages into it. I was like, can't do this.
Yeah, well, it's a great story, but a lot of work.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think Chaucer would be rolling over in his grave to think that people are DNFing him in the 20th and 21st century, because it's a very different kind of writing, and in today's day and age, I think predominantly a lot of people like the fast-paced plots. They're not there for more pedantic, drawn out stuff, and that's why a lot of that stuff has fallen out of favor a bit. But remember, everything is, as you know, gentlemen, you're very smart people, educated. Everything is derivative of anything else. So you may read something and say, "Oh yeah, this is hot and crisp and fresh and fast." Well, it's probably based off of XXX, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I got to say, before we move on, my all-time favorite in that category of old stories was Cervantes. I don't remember the whole long title, but Don Quixote. Man, what a great piece of litture. Not so much a good musical, The Man of La Mancha, but
Yeah, The Man of La Mancha. But that's very. I find that very analogous to writing in general. Sometimes you feel like you're tilting at windmills. But that is a classic for sure.
Great. Now, Beem, we need to get a commercial out here before we take that first caller. You want to start with Icicle?
Yeah, we do have a caller, so we will do a commercial, and then we will take the call as soon as we're done.
Now, let me alert everybody, this commercial is for the first Ort Chronicle book, and it's the second one that's coming out in the next week or so.
All right.
Now, introducing Book 1 in the new series by master sci-fi storyteller Robert G. Williscroft, Icicle, a tensor matrix, the first Ort Chronicle. Dying of prostate cancer, wealthy entrepreneur Braxton Thorpe is frozen in hopes of someday being revived and cured. That's when he discovers a threat to the entire solar system. But he has a problem. He's dead. He awakens to find himself uploaded into an electronic matrix. Exploring beyond the matrix and the larger global net, he discovers the Ort, a distributed electronic entity older than humanity, with an unnerving secret. Aliens wiped out nearly all life on Earth once, and they are coming back to do it again.
Ooh.
The mathematical entity that is Thorpe has to find a way to convince humans of this threat, and in time to do something about it. But how? And what? Will Thorpe's carefully assembled team have any shot at saving the world? Will the Russians and Chinese help or betray? And who uploaded the cat? Icicle, a Tensor Matrix, the first Urt Chronicle, is available worldwide in hardcover, softcover, all ebook formats, and now as an audiobook narrated by Trenton Bennett, including music and sound effects. Icicle, a Tensor Matrix, is proudly published by Fresh Ink Group.
All right. Now, before we take this call, I'm going to jump over to Twitter. Robert G. Williscroft, whom you just heard his book being advertised there, he says he's got a comment or question here for you, PL. He says, PL, did anyone ever tell you that you are the spitting image of the character Al Powell in the original Die Hard, played by Reginald Bell Johnson?
Oh, the original. Oh man. I was a big Die Hard fan. Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you.
Is that the first you've heard of it?
Yeah. No, I've never been told that actually, but I'm honored to say that. But I mean, just quickly, that commercial was amazing. Like, you made me want to run and buy that book. That sounds like a mashup between like War of the World and The Matrix and what's that movie with Tom Cruise where he's dead and they freeze him? Oh man. Oh, Daffodil Deadline. Anyways, it sounds like, an amalgamation. That sounds. I might have to just put that on my TBR.
All right.
Interesting.
Okay, let's go to the phones and get this caller here. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show. You are on the air. Where are you calling from, and what's your name?
I'm calling from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Hello,
and,
welcome to the
my
show.
name is Beth.
What's your name?
Hi, thank you. It's the first
What's
time.
the name?
It's Beth.
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 Hi, Beth.
Hi, Beth. Welcome to the show.
I know who that is. Hey, Beth.
Cool. So you know this scoundrel, huh, Beth?
I do, just a little bit.
This is my boss. And before we go blog, this is
okay.
Beem company right here.
Oh,
this is Beth Tobler. She's amazing.
That would be Beth Tobler then, yeah.
All right. So welcome to the show, Beth.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I was going to ask PL what his favorite contemporary science fiction and fantasy books have been, since she's been talking so much about classics.
Ooh.
Good question.
Well, that's tough. I would have to say fantasy. I mean, there's so many. I mean, Beth knows a lot of them already from knowing me for the blog, but there's right now, I think there's a book out there right now called The Legacy of the Brightwash that is by Crystal Matar. She's an indie author. That is just a phenomenal book. I can name a lot of books, but I want to shine a big bright spotlight on that one. That's a fantastic book. Science fiction, I got to sneak in two. They're both indie authors again. And great people that I've had the pleasure of knowing well. One is Lucian Telford. He's written a book called The Sequence. It's kind of like it's a mashup between like a detective murder mystery and a futuristic genetic alteration, Blade Runner, Star Wars. It's just awesome. And then there's Allegory of the End by A.R. Mirabal. That's almost like Ready Player One, mashed up with, Game of Thrones. It's really good. So those are all indie authors, and I'd love to emphasize that those are fantastic books.
Wow,
yeah.
That's excellent.
Absolutely. All right, well, that's all I wanted to know.
Well, thanks for calling in, Beth.
Yeah, thanks for participating.
Thanks so much for
Now,
calling. Really appreciate that.
If you got any scandalous stories about this guy, don't be afraid to drop them now while you got the microphone.
Oh, mom's the word.
I paid her off already, guys. It's too late. Check's in the mail.
All right, well, you guys have a lovely evening.
Thanks.
Well,
thanks so much,
thanks, Beth.
Yeah, PL, you mentioned Ready Player One. I just watched that movie again this past week also. Steven Spielberg directed it, so obviously it was no slouch production, starring Ty Sheridan.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was an excellent movie. I like that kind of stuff. But PL, maybe we need to have you check out our favorite science fiction author, Robert G. Williscroft, who you just heard his commercial for Icicle. And as I said, I'm going to give away some books mood, so maybe we can introduce you to somebody new.
Well, and speaking of Robert Williscroft, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I was saying that sounds amazing, and I'm serious. I plan to add that to my TBR, and anything to add to my TBR, I read. And whenever I read, I review. And normally these reviews also typically get posted on Before We Go blog. So just for Robert's awareness that
excellent.
He need not worry if I read his book, he's going to get a review. So.
All right.
All right. Now, he's over on Twitter. He says, Robert Williscroft says, the Iliad and the Odyssey are way before medieval. And,
by a wide stretch.
Yeah. By a long stretch, yes.
Yeah. And then he also said, we should have our materials still read 637 years after we write them. And I agree. That's how authors kind of transcend, death. Our work is still around. And Verwayne Greenhouse says, congrats, Robert Williscroft, on your upcoming new release.
Oh, cool.
Excellent. Yep, congrats.
And we do have another caller if you guys want to take it.
Go for it.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
I like seeing these phone lines light up. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show. You are on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from? Turn down your listening device.
Gotcha.
All right.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yep.
Oh, perfect. Greetings there. This is Nathaniel calling from actually the exact same city that PL comes from.
Oh, wow.
Welcome to the show, Nathaniel.
Good, my friend.
Yeah,
cool.
Good. Getting to hear from you again, PL, and nice meeting you there. Mr. Beem Weeks and Stephen G.
All right.
Glad to have you.
So
glad to have you. Yeah.
The question is for PL, of course, and I'm wondering if A Drowned Kingdom, whether the first book or even the entire series as you write it, was turned into a video adaptation. Would you rather it be adapted as a movie or a TV series?
Ooh,
that's a
good
great
question.
But let me just quickly say something about Nathaniel. He's an amazing guy. He reached out. He lives in my town. We met up at a donut shop, and it was great to talk to him. We hung up for a while. I signed his book, and he's a wonderful, great fella. So thank you so much again, Nathaniel. Now, to answer your question, yep, I think TV show. I'm going for the longevity. I'm going for that, HBO / Netflix or Amazon Prime or something like that. Stretch it out, make a little bit more money out of that. You got to have the right cast, of course. But yeah, I would prefer a TV show and the longevity of that. And that would be my answer.
Yeah, quite honestly, I'm right there with you. Been watching Game of Thrones, Wheel of Time, The Witcher, and I feel like that would be hopefully great fit.
Yeah, well, I got 7 books in the series, right? So 7 books. That's a TV show. That's not a movie.
Yeah, with today's streaming services, as you mentioned, like Netflix and Amazon Prime and some of these Hulu and some of these, that's the going trend right now is turning novels, like with The Handmaid's Tale. It was a novel, and now look at it, it's getting ready to start their 4th or 5th season, something like that. Game of Thrones, all that stuff.
Yep.
It's bloody brilliant how it's been going anymore these days with all those shows and with the books, of course. Well, thank you for taking my question.
Well, thank you for joining the show.
Yeah, thanks for calling in, Nathaniel, and we invite you to listen every week and to call in for other guests as well, too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Nathaniel. Thank you.
You're welcome, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year
to
you too as well.
Now, Nathaniel asked about going toward, basically movies or television. There's another visual direction that a lot of authors are going with their novels now, and it's getting to be a real hot trend, and that's hooking up with an artist and putting out a graphic novel version of something that was previously a regular novel. I'm good friends with the librarian here in North Alabama, and she tells me anybody under the age of 30 who walks in looking for, that's people they don't know, they're not familiar with, and don't already know what they like, and they come in just saying, hey, where's the so-and-so? She says it's graphic novels. That's the number one thing that the younger audiences go looking for first. So, that's a lot to be said for thinking about going that kind of direction too.
Yeah, they're big graphic novels, audiobooks. There's some mediums now that are really taking off, and if you want to sell and get that exposure, I think you need to start thinking about those things if you haven't already as an author. So I agree totally.
Yeah, the audiobooks, we're producing those ourselves for some of our authors like Robert G. Willis-Croft. Or we have a teenage girl who's into Greek mythology, and she's got 3 books in her series so far about teenagers who are interested in Greek mythology, but also dealing with all the regular teenage stuff. And the audiobooks for those are selling briskly. So, I encourage everybody to think about audiobooks. We're doing them a little differently than some. We're adding music and sound effects and bumpers and things like that, and kind of dressing them up a little bit, and people seem to like that. So, don't leave any options on the table. And a lot of
that sounds fantastic.
A lot of things now are starting at the graphic novel stage. When we did the movies showed recently, my number one movie that I listed was Road to Perdition. That came from originally a graphic novel. And earlier in today's show, I mentioned that I had watched one of my all-time favorite science fiction movies called Oblivion. That was a graphic novel as well. It never existed as a novel. It went from graphic novel to casting Tom Cruise and Morgan Freeman to star in the movie. So,
there's a lot of them. I mean, even on TV, The Walking Dead, that all started from a graphic novel.
Yeah,
I was going to say that. I just want to say quickly though, personally, you guys are amazing. I mean, you've blanketed the gamut of I don't know when you guys sleep, but
we don't. We don't.
Like when you guys sleep, man. But amazing. Like kudos to you for all your hard work and what you're doing to grow your business and support authors at the same time. Like, hats off to you. And Fresh Ink, sounds great.
Well, you are welcome back every week.
Just record this and we'll use that as a drop.
So tell us about your family. We know about your wife and your kids. You partner with your wife on your writing projects. How does that work out?
Yeah, well, it works out surprisingly well considering we're married. She is brilliant. My lovely wife Debbie. She has a background in marketing. Nice. We went for about with this thing. We incorporated it as a business. We got tax accounted and lawyers, and we decided we're going to treat this like a startup business. And she has has a marketing background, and I help out, but mainly obviously I do the writing. And together, I think we've had some success, and we want to continue to grow in that direction. She's just fantastic to work with. She's a very discerning reader. She hates, this is a secret, she hates sci-fi and fantasy. She doesn't even like it. But now she says she likes my books. I believe her. I'm trying to think she's not just stroking my ego. But no, seriously, my wife is so straightforward. She wouldn't have gone into this as a financial venture if she didn't think I had some talent. So I'm very blessed there. Or she would have told me, honey, maybe you should start a donut shop or something instead. That's how that is. But so it's working well, and it's wonderful to work with your wife on something like this on your passion. And it's great to do that.
Now, without putting anybody on the spot, are you seeing the literature bug in any of your kids yet?
I honestly think that my oldest daughter, she's brilliant. She went to university as an undergraduate law degree. I think out of all of them, I think in the future she might actually, dip her dip her foot into the writing well. The rest of them, a lot of them are avid readers, so they do read the stuff, and a couple even enjoy fantasy. But yeah, I think if anyone, it would be my oldest daughter. I think she's around 30ish. So.
Oh, cool. Great. Beem, you want to roll another one?
Sure. This is going to be all right.
Gwen Plano, maybe?
Inspiring and unforgettable, Letting Go into Perfect Love is a riveting account of a journey through the terror of domestic violence to a faith that transforms all. As a college administrator, Gwendolyn M. Plano lived her professional life in a highly visible and accountable space. But as a wife and mother behind closed doors, she and her family experienced unpredictable threat. Every 9 seconds in the United States, a woman is assaulted or beaten. But to Gwen, this was her secret. It was her shame. Alternately heart-wrenching and joyful, this is a story of triumph over adversity. One woman's uplifting account of learning how to forgive the unforgivable, recover her sense of self, bring healing into her family, and honor the journey home. Accompanied by glimpses of celestial beings, Gwen charts a path through sorrow to joy, and ultimately writes of the one perfect love we all seek. Gwen's story is heartbreakingly familiar. It provides insight into the phenomenon of domestic violence. Understanding that murky world may provide the reader with the skills to help his or her sister or friend or neighbor. Whether victim or friend, readers will be inspired by the author's courage. Letting Go into Perfect Love by Gwendolyn M. Plano is available now as a Fresh Ink Group edition in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook editions. The Audible audiobook edition is also available at Amazon. Order your copy now, and you may see your own challenges a little differently.
Right. Great book.
There's a quick little comment here on Twitter from Robert Willis Croft. He's going back to the movies versus TV series. He says movies will give you the largest paycheck unless you get a multi-year series. Yeah, I can agree with that, because you get a series and you're canceled after a season or two, and then that's done. There's been some good shows. One of them that Steven turned me on to was a show called Dead Like Me, and this is a phenomenal show, but they were done after 2 seasons. It got canceled, and that's a bummer because it was a good show. And I caught up on it 15 years after the fact in reruns. So.
Yeah, well, of course, a lot of that depends on how you structure the deal, too. Like with the TV series, if you've got the name and the clout, a lot of times it's your production company that will actually produce the show, and then you'll own 50% or even all of the syndication rights, and then you can make hundreds of millions of dollars for many years to come that way, whereas others, a lot of times, they're just work-for-hire kind of situations. Likewise, movie stars getting a couple of percent on the back end, they can really make the money there. And, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, there's so many stories out there that are funny about people who made the wrong choice on that. Like they wanted Donald Sutherland to be in the movie Animal House, and they offered him several percent, and he turned it down and took like $1,500 instead or whatever. Yeah. Whereas if he had done it, it would have been worth $20 million by now.
Yeah, because he thought it was going to be just some silly comedy romp that was going to be here today and gone tomorrow, and that became a huge movie. I remember that story about Sutherland. Now, PL, you're being a writer and all that. Do you still have a day job that you care to talk about, or are you full-time writing?
No, I'm not full-time writing, unfortunately, although I do love my regular job. I work in federal law enforcement up here in Canada, and it's a fantastic endeavor, and I'm very proud of what I do and the men and women that I work with who are toil unselfishly and, behind the scenes and in the middle of the night on weekends and all days and, put their lives on the line to protect our country. And but yeah, it's a great job. It's something different every day. It's very intriguing, and I do enjoy it. That said, I am looking forward to retirement and being able to devote my time almost exclusively to writing.
All right, yeah, that's the kind of job there that you do, where there's really no, you can't let your guard down. There's no taking a rest. You know, you've got to, that front line thing. You've got to be out there and on your toes at all times.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a great job. You get to help people. You get to do good things. You know, and again, you know, 99.9% of the people that we deal with are fantastic people. I mean, I'm talking about our clientele. You know, law-abiding people. You know, and then you know, there's that other percent that unfortunately, you know, I'm not talking about their characters. Just, you know, the behavior, the actions, unfortunately, are things that we have to deal with, and you know, that's what we really get paid for, is that small percentage of occurrences, right? So
seems like a potential source for story ideas as well. I mean, you got some interesting cases coming through. And we'll change the names. Remember when we arrested Charles Hanson? You know. So what's your writing process like, PL? I mean, do you have like a set pattern, certain times a day? You set goals, when, how, where? You know, everybody's different in how they approach their writing, and we're always curious about our guests. Well, what's your style? How do you do it?
Oh, no, gentlemen, none of the above. I work shift work, and I find that there's days where I can write, you know, seemingly endlessly when I'm motivated, and there's days that I don't have the energy. And I can't have a set writing time because I work different shifts, midnight, you know, overnight, afternoons, days. It's all over the map. You know, I don't have a set word count because, again, when I'm not feeling it, I don't write. And then when I'm feeling it, I go on a tear. So, no, I'm very sporadic with my writing. However, you know, for me, it's all about, you know, if you can meet those self-imposed deadlines, which I always tend to do, that's all that matters. So, for example, if you feel you need to get this book to the editor by this date, and as long as it's done, it doesn't matter how you did it or how you got there. It just matters that you meet the deadline, right? So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I understand that. There's some days where you're just not motivated to sit down and write. And then there's those days where I'm motivated, but I'm out on the road doing something. I can't get home to, you know, and then I do get home, then I'm kind of tired and, you know, worn out. But I've been kind of on a spree here the last few nights, staying up a little bit later, getting some stuff done, writing done. But so where do your story ideas come from?
Well, I would say that they're inspired by, again, part of it is my background, medieval literature and classic literature and, you know, mythology, ancient mythologies. Some of it is from, you know, modern contemporary life and things that happen in life. And then some of it's from my job, too, and my law enforcement career in various agencies, which spanned, you know, a couple of decades now. So, yeah, that's largely where I draw inspiration from for my stories.
Now, you know, you mentioned that you've got 7 books in this series that you want to write. Do you outline these? Are these already outlined and just waiting to be written?
Well, not only are they outlined and ready to be written, a lot of them are largely written, like the guts of the shell of them, and it's a lot of editing. So they're planned up pretty far in advance. Because the thing is, I have those 7 books planned, but then I also have 2 separate prequel trilogies planned, and then another 7 books, all set in the same universe that I want to get out in the next, you know, let's just say 20 years. So that's the goal. I know it sounds ambitious, but
yeah, I just want to say that's an ambitious undertaking.
So you do a lot of self-editing. Do you also use outside editors at all, or beta readers for feedback, or do you involve other people in your process, or you keep it pretty much to yourself?
Well, no. I'm a self-published author, but I do use I am using for this series a self-publishing assist company called Friesen Press. They're what I consider to be the Cadillac or Mercedes of self-published assist companies in Canada. They're based on the west coast of Canada, out of Victoria, BC / Alberta, I guess. And, you know, they've been around for a while. Their parent company is, you know, big, very reputable print print company that's been around for ages. And I use their editors. They contract out editors, and they we go through usually a couple rounds of editing with them. And then Deb and I go through the manuscript as much as a fine-tooth comb as you can. You're always frustrated because editing is just a beast. I find that to be the toughest part of the writing process. And you know what? I've caught errors in big traditionally published books, not just indies, and it's so hard. Like most editors can only guarantee in the 90th percentile of accuracy, and you're going to miss stuff as a writer. You go blind to your work, and you're trying for that clean manuscript, but it's like, oh, I got that error, it's like but it happens. You just do your best to make it pristine and perfect. That's your goal, but realizing that, unfortunately, for the most part, errors will be unavoidable to a certain degree. You're just trying to mitigate them down to the lowest level, right? So.
Yeah, and I find I edit as I'm writing too. I'll write something, and it might be a week or two later, but I'll go back and proof it and look for those things, and here's one. So you find these things, and by the time you do hand it off to the editor, it's pretty good. It works for me.
And like I said, I've been largely successful, but you catch those odd little things like, some that somebody might not even notice, but you think, someone can notice that, but you just, you correct it when you can, and you move on. You can't, you do your best with everything, right? And, but the perfectionist in me, it bothers me, but yeah.
All right. You there, Stephen? Hello, Stephen. Okay. I think we've lost him. Let's segue into your current work. Tell us a little something about A Drowned Kingdom.
A Drowned Kingdom. When one kingdom drowns, a new one must rise in its place. So begins the saga of that kingdom and the man who would rule all. That's the part of the synopsis there in my elevator pitch, I guess. The Drowned Kingdom is based on partially my version of the tale of the lost realm of Atlantis. It's about a flawed and bigoted prince who winds up being the leader of the last remnants of his people, and he leads them across the sea after the fall of his kingdom to a new continent where he must establish a foothold and try and ensure his people's survival, and deal with things like magic and intrigue and battle and things like that, and that's what it's about.
Is everybody hearing me now?
Yep. You're back. Guess who's back? Steven's
Welcome back.
So what kind of additions do you have? Now, see, I'm hearing myself 3 times now. What kind of additions do you have for this book? Hardcover, softcover?
Yes, I have hardcover, softcover, and ebook, and we're currently working on an audiobook. So, it'll be out in at least those 4 formats. It's already out in the first 3. Audiobook is coming in the next few months. So, it's out in those formats.
Do you find that your hardcover does well?
Most of my sales come from author signed copies. For whatever reasons, I guess a lot of people that I know really embrace. I'm so grateful for my friends, and especially my colleagues at work, family members, people that I knew from high school came out of the woodwork to really want a copy signed by me, and it's just blown me away by the response. They helped turn me into a bestseller. Both with the individual signed copies and through the publishing assist company, which has its own bookstore. They really wow, I was blown away at the response. So my hardcovers do well. I think with the classic fantasy people, they want a hardcover. They want that glossy, fancy. It's a bit more expensive, but they really tend to like that. So my hardcovers do fairly well.
Yeah, we've always pushed the hardcovers with our authors, even though maybe it's 5 or 10% of their sales, because it's the prestige. They look nice on the table at signings. You want that nicer edition if you're going to give a gift or or do something like that with it. But we're also finding that some of ours are starting to outsell the soft covers. Like last night I looked, our top 5 selling books right now are 3 of the 5 are the hardcover editions. And This is something we've never seen before. It's really unusual.
Yeah,
that's great.
We're going to jump over here to Twitter because we do have a couple more tweets here. Marlena Smith has joined the conversation. Hi, Marlena. She says, it's lovely to hear you speak about your wife and children. It can be a big difference having that kind of family support. And she also said, my routine is quite similar. I fit writing in when the time is there and the inspiration is there. I do have a question. Aside from your love of reading, do you ever research for your stories?
Well, that's a great question, and good luck in your own writing, Marlene, and thanks for tweeting out that there. And yes, my family is wonderful. I'm very blessed. So most of my research, although my background is in obviously medieval literature and somewhat my history was my minor, so medieval studies. Most of my research involved predominantly researching medieval life, little details that I didn't know. And, different empires, what different societies, civilizations were doing, whether it be in Africa and Asia, and of course in Europe during that period. And, war and largely warfare and battles. And, that was always a fascination of mine to begin with. But some of the nitty-gritties of weapons and armament and warfare and strategy. So that's what most of my research, was comprised of for these books.
All right. Verwayne Greenhoe, he says, I've discovered that I can write myself notes on my cell phone email by using my Bluetooth device and then the microphone on the cell's keyboard. You use simple verbal commands like comma, period, or new paragraph. It has allowed me to save a lot of ideas. I've done that too, Verwayne. But I also have notebooks where I jot ideas down and lines of dialogue or whatever. So,
so was that Wayne Greenwood? Was that who?
That was. Come on here. I think we've lost Stephen again. That's Verwayne Greenhoe. He's a writer as well, author. He's got many books over on Amazon. Let me check this out here. You there, Stephen?
I'm here.
All right. You're back.
I don't know what it's doing today, but it just keeps dropping me out and then
I see
sticking
that.
its tongue out at me and throwing.
Well,
things
you were on
the
the control board here twice, and you said you were hearing yourself 3 times. So I muted one of them, and then you sounded fine. Everything was going on. Then that one that was unmuted dropped off, and I just unmuted the other one, and here you are. Crazy.
Well, as long as I still look good.
It's just because you're so good that you're getting cloned. That's why you're in 3 different places at once.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So you need to be with what all you guys have going on anyway.
So PL, what kind of feedback are you getting from readers? What kind of reviews are you looking at?
Well, I've been very blessed that the reviews have been very much largely positive. And I'm honored that I've received so many positive reviews and feedback, and the sales, of course, are the ultimate testament. And they've been pretty strong. So I'm very blessed and very honored. But you certainly can't rest on your laurels. I'm working hard to improve as a writer and get better. And take any critiques and criticisms of the first book and keep working and get better for the second and third and fourth and 20th. So. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm very pleased with so far what the feedback is. So.
Yeah.
Now, with all my cutting in and out, I might have missed it. Did we ask about the next book yet? The Last of the Animals?
No, we didn't. I was saving that question for you.
Well, why don't you tell us about it, PL?
Well, I guess without giving too much of the plot of the way, A Drowned Kingdom, the first book in my series, The Drowned Kingdom Saga, ends on somewhat of a cliffhanger in a way. And the Last Death Sentence picks up right where they left off. And the author's got himself, as per usual, in a bit of a pickle. And, he's got to get himself out of that pickle if he wants to continue progressing to his ultimate ambition of ruling. So he's gone. He's gone out and he's done some stuff, and but the book is about basically just I guess a bit of the pitch: 3 lords in disguise, a stolen throne, an unfaithful queen, a tainted mage, and an ancient war flag that will fly one last time. So that's the last of the Atlanteans.
Now we talked about the editing process and all that. Who does your book covers?
So that is, again, Friesen Press, the publication assist company. With the cover for the first book, it was pretty well, my vision and them incorporating it. With the second book, same thing. However, I had a brilliant author friend, Elizabeth Eckstein. She writes a wonderful intrusion type fantasy, like more like his Dark Materials, Harry Potter type stuff. She's also an amazing artist. And she designed the cover image for the main cover image for the last of the Atlanteans. So,
all right,
cool. So, Beem, you want to squeeze one more commercial in before we start to wind down here?
All righty.
A small rural community in the Lowcountry along Ocean Highway, Green Pond, South Carolina, has long lacked cultural and educational opportunity for its young people's future success. Many have gone on to serve in the highest levels of education, government, public service, elected office, business, and medicine. With so much success against the odds, surely there must be something in the water. Abigail Hugini chronicles the impact just 42 of Green Pond's children have gone on to make in the world. All full-color editions include photos from around town and local translations of down-home sayings. These inspirational stories prove that, regardless of one's background, we can all find our own path toward greatness. An excellent reference, keepsake, gift, and addition to every library. There must be something in the water. Anthology of the 4th generation, Descendants of Green Pond, After the Emancipation, is proudly published by Fresh Ink Group.
That book's only been out for a couple of weeks now, and it's selling briskly. I'm very pleased to see that. It's got the kind of inspirational stories that need to be out there. A lot of people should be picking that book up.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a video of it too
over
on YouTube. Go to the Fresh Ink Group channel, like, subscribe, write a check, mail it, make it out to me.
Yeah. So PL, we're kind of running down on time here, but do you have any advice for other authors, up and coming authors, authors that are looking to become published, or just writing for fun? Any advice?
Well, I'm pretty new at the game too. Somewhat of a novice. I mean, I think I've done fairly well at the gate, but I have a long way to go. So you feel somewhat disingenuous giving advice. That said, the one thing I will say is, start early and often with your marketing. You got to get ahead of the game. You can't start marketing your book. Well, you can, but it's not advisable in my estimation. You got to start marketing your book well in advance of publication. I'd say at a minimum of 6 months out to a year out. Get on social media, establish connections. Let people know about you because you're very much selling the brand, not just the books. Let people know about you. Do things like these wonderful podcasts. Meet amazing people in the industry like yourself, like you two gentlemen. Get yourself out there. Start letting people know about your book. Give them little snippets or teasers that you can. Do cover reveals, do book trailers. Get that hype and interest going, so that by the time your book's going to come out, people are chomping at the bit. So that's my advice.
Good advice, definitely.
Yeah.
So how do people find you, P.L. Stewart, and that's Stuart?
Yeah, that's correct. I'm pretty well on the main social media strips and Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. However, let's face facts. Twitter is mainly where I am. You can definitely find me on Twitter. I'm fairly interactive there. My DMs are always open.
What's your handle?
Writing. My handle is @PL Stewart Writes. So @PL Stewart Writes, one word. And of course, I have a website, www.plstewart.com. I do author interviews for a special feature that I call 6 Elemental Interviews. I do reviews on there. It's links to my Goodreads review page. You'll find updates about the series, and that's a good place to check me out as well.
So when they're looking for you on Twitter, they just got to look for that guy who looks like Reginald Vell Johnson, and they know you've got him, huh?
Okay, we got some more comments here. Let me squeeze these in before we wrap things up. Comments on Twitter. Verwayne Greenhouse says, talking about with the notes on his phone, I do it as I travel with Bluetooth. It keeps my hands free. Now, Robert Willis-Croft said clones. Didn't Jack in Oblivion have 47 and then 52 clones that we know about?
Yeah, he was number 49, the main character, and 52 is the one who wound up with the girl at the end. But how many more there were, it never really said.
Okay.
Hey, that's lucky. I'm 52. That must be a lucky number.
And he also said, all of you out there should know that Stephen Gies is a master cover designer. He and I worked together for 6 covers now, all excellent. I agree.
Well,
he does my covers as well.
Awesome. Bravo. Awesome.
Great. So did we leave out any ways to find you, PL? Instagram, website, spot you walking down the street?
Yeah, I'm hiding under a rock writing for the most part. But yeah, no, Twitter is really the best place to get a hold of me. And there's links through that you can email me. So yeah, Twitter @PL Stewart Writes.
And listeners, keep in mind that we have a contact form at freshinkgroup.com. So if you're ever trying to get a hold of any of the people who are any of our authors, the people we work with, the people we promote, the guests on our podcast, anything like that, send us a note and we'll make sure we pass it along. So there's always a way to get in touch with authors now. And P.L. Stewart is one that you want to get to know.
Definitely.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, Stephen. So what do we got next week?
Next week, Michael Egging, novelist and screenwriter. He's a very interesting guy. He's going to be our guest. And then the week after that,
we have Richard W. Jenkins. He is the author of the poetry collection Behind the Smile, a very intelligent man who should be a fun interview.
Yeah, he's a Houstonite down there who's I forget the exact term, so forgive me if I get it wrong, but a Grand Master or whatever in martial arts, and has been trained people and won national awards and whatnot, and then writes poetry. So what a great contrast. And then after that, we've got James Weltley, author of Pot Boiler Thrillers. And then after that, Beem?
We have Aichen Chang Lim. She's a novelist and a memoirist. I've spoken with her before and at the old show, so it'll be fun to reconnect there.
Okay, and we also mentioned during today's show, and we played you the commercial for There Must Be Something in the Water. The author of that book, Abigail Hughini, she's going to be our guest the week after that. So we've got some exciting guests coming up, and we're really looking forward to having them.
2022, it's starting off to be a big year, and we hope to make it the biggest one yet with this show. So
Yep. No, I got to admit, I didn't know P.L. Stewart before we started talking about doing this podcast. It's been an honor and a privilege talking to you today, Mr. Stewart, and we look forward to staying in touch, trying to help support all your efforts, and maybe you'll keep an eye on us and help us out as well.
Completely mutual, gentlemen. Thank you so much. It was a real honor and privilege to be here, and I was so excited to do this and so happy I got to do it. And we'll definitely be keeping in touch, and I'll be checking out all your stuff. You guys are all over the map, and I really am enthused about what you're doing, and you're doing some really innovative things, and kudos and congratulations to you.
Well, when the new book comes out, shoot me a email, and we'll get you back on the show. Get you talking
there you
about
go.
the new
I'd
book.
love to.
That's a promise.
Oh, thank you. I'd love to. That would be amazing. I'd love to. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us.
And to all you listeners, again, Happy New Year. We really appreciate your support, your participation, the calls, the tweets, and helping us promote the show. If you don't subscribe to that newsletter, get on there. And when you get your newsletter every Wednesday morning, don't be bashful about forwarding it to people, because that way they've got the link to the show right there, and maybe they'll get interested and discover the podcast, the books, the authors, the whole world of indie publishing, and maybe we'll pick up another subscriber too. So, again, thanks, everybody. And also thanks for all the support that I've been getting since I've been dealing with my broken hands. The patience and the good wishes and all that really has meant a lot to me.
All right. We'll see you all again next week. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
You've been a part of Voice of Indie, a production of Fresh Ink Group. Spread the word, support our guests, then find us at freshinkgroup.com and be sure to hashtag Fresh Ink Group.